I'm sharing my grandmother's recipe for trout and ginger sushi from Gifu. This may be so different from what you think of sushi. In fact, there are so many forms of sushi all over Japan, and this is certainly one of them. This recipe calls for simple ingredients, ginger and trout, or use salmon instead of trout. Trout and ginger sushi is a seasonal dish in Gifu, from late spring to early summer, and usually wrapped with magnolia leaf. I don't have a photo of the sushi, but here is something similar that used persimmon leaves. Before I begin, let me briefly introduce Gifu Prefecture in Japan, where I grew up and my family lives. Mountainous region where there is no proximity to the ocean, but abundance of natural springs and streams. Now, let's start cooking. I'm cooking 2 rice cups, here using short grain rice. Make sure you're cooking the rice for sushi making purpose, which means reduce the water so that your rice won't get soggy after you mixed it with sushi vinegar. Cook rice first, as you can prep everything while you're waiting for the rice to be ready. Boil trout for a few minutes. Don't worry about if the fish is cooked through or not, as we'll be cooking more in the next step. My grandmother has a particular size and shape of cutting ginger for this dish, and I like following how she used to prepare. Try not to break salmon into small pieces, but make sure to remove bones. If you make salmon into smaller pieces here, your salmon gets even smaller in the process of mixing with rice. Sushi vinegar consists of rice vinegar, salt, and sugar. Let me point out we are not using the sushi vinegar entirely. We are making larger amounts so that we can cook salmon flakes and minced ginger together in it. As you know, Japanese cooking calls for sugar more than I like to use. I'm currently experimenting with stevia to substitute sugar, but stevia alone can't render the flavor I'm used to. Use a strainer to separate the sushi vinegar. When the rice is ready, steaming and hot, that's the best time to mix with sushi vinegar, as rice won't soak up vinegar when it's cooled down. Adding sushi vinegar first, just 4 tablespoons. Remember, we subtracted 4 tablespoons water before cooking rice. Now we are adding back to make the rice perfect. If you've taken my sushi class before, you know what I always say: bottom up and slice the rice. Bottom up is scooping the rice from the bottom and flip the rice as the sushi vinegar stays at the bottom first. Then slice the rice to separate. Don't pour out salmon all at once. Add gradually, as it's easier to spread the salmon this way. Try slicing the rice in a short amount of time, like a minute or 2. Once you cool down the rice, cover it with a damp cloth to prevent it from drying. For the side dish, I decided to make gomae, kale with sesame sauce. Cooking kale in boiling water for a few minutes. Adjust the cooking time depending on how soft you like. Count that it continues to cook when you take off from the boiling water, or you have a choice of plunge into ice water if you overcook it in the boiling water. Once it cools down, remove the hard stem from the leaf. Doesn't dilute the dressing. When I'm serving my family, I just use my hand to lightly squeeze the water. Don't overdo it though. Using Japanese mortar and pestle, I'll make 2 tablespoons roasted sesame seeds into fine powder. Heating up the leftover soup and adding chopped kale stems. The meal is ready. I hope you're now inspired to try making this on your own. While making this video, I realized how much detail and side stories I like sharing when I teach in the class. But I made an effort to keep the video simple. All the stories and detail I couldn't explain here is something I look forward to sharing when I meet you in person. Till then, please take good care of yourself.